to tell a friend. She's back.
Hey guys, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. So we're going to jump straight into the materials that you'll need for customizing a wig. So I have some BW2 bleaching powder, 40 developer, got to be glue spray, rat tail comb, 3-in-1 edge brush, and some paper towels. Also forgot to mention a color bowl and Shimmer Lights shampoo, of course. So I went ahead and put some paper towel down on the table just for some protection, and now I'm going to pull out my client's wig. She got a 13 by 4 straight unit from Love Me Hair, so I wrote her name in it so I wouldn't get it mixed up with any other wigs that I work on in the process. So before we get started, we're going to go over hairline protection. I'm going to spray some Got To Be glue spray across the hairline of the wig, just so that when I'm bleaching it, it doesn't bleed into the hair. It's going to help prevent it from all turning blonde and just messing up the hair in general, because if that happens, then that's a whole nother process. So when I get a chance, if I make a mistake, I'll show you guys what to do when you over bleach your knots. But after you spray the Got To Be glue spray on there, you're going to use your rat tail comb to just work the product in and comb the hairs back so they're flat out of your way. So this is what the wig should look like after you sprayed it down. There's no flyaways, there's no hair in the way of the lace. It's a clean canvas to start with. This is what you want it to give. So I'm just emphasizing the part so you guys can see what the knots look like. It's little black dots on the lace. That is what we're bleaching. We want them to lighten up so it's easier to blend when we're installing the wig. So now I'm going to go over the bleach mix ratio. I don't have a specific ratio. I just know what I want it to look like once I mix it up. So I'm going to put about 3 scoops into this color bowl, and then I'm going to pour some 40 developer in there. When I'm pouring the developer, I kind of just count to 3, like 1, 2, 3, just like that, and pour it in. And then I mix it to see if it's to my consistency that I like. When I'm mixing it, I kind of want the consistency to be very creamy. I don't want it to be dripping off my brush or my whatever I use to put the bleach on the wig. You don't want it dripping, and you don't want it too cakey where it doesn't even process at all. So you guys gonna see what I mean as I make my mix. Okay, as I'm mixing it, I'm noticing that it's too cakey, so I'm gonna go in and pour some more developer and keep mixing. So the thing about this bleach mix is something that you really have to play with. Like I said, I don't have a exact measurement or ratio. I kind of just pour bleach, and then I pour my developer, I mix, and then if it's too loose, then I'll pour more bleach, and if it's too powdery cakey, then I pour more developer until I get a good creamy consistency. So right here, I'm just spreading it across the bowl so you guys can get a better view of what my consistency looks like. It's very creamy and it's not loose. Okay, so moving on to the next step, which is actually applying the bleach to the knots. I'm going to undo her straps inside the wig so it's not causing any restriction, because I'm going to fold the wig inside out. I just feel like this way is easier for me. The hair is out the way, and it's just overall like easier to do this way. So I'm flipping it over, and I'm laying it across my paper towel, and then we're going to be ready to go. So as I apply the bleach, I'm using my left hand to hold the lace while my right hand is applying the bleach. And I'm going to spread a generous amount across the entire lace, making sure that I'm covering all the knots. When you're doing this, you really want to focus on the front of the hairline and then work your way back, because realistically, the front of the hairline is the most important part. That's the part that you're going to glue down. That's the part that people are going to see. If you're running low on bleach, I would just focus on the areas where you're actually going to part the hair, because those are the parts that you want to look realistic. If you don't have the bleach to cover the whole thing, then don't even waste your time trying to do the whole thing. Another point that I would like to suggest is making sure that the bleach goes a little bit in front of the hairline on the lace, just to make sure you're really covering everything. Once that is complete, I'm going to let this sit for about 20 to 35 minutes, depending on how stubborn the knots are, which some of these companies can be. I'll probably leave it on there for an hour. It's just something that you really gotta eyeball and watch until it gets blonde enough to your liking. For the sake of the video, I'm going to turn the wig back to its right side so that we can watch the knots together. But if you're a beginner, I would not recommend doing this because you might run into the risk of getting the bleach on the hair. And again, that's just a whole nother process, and that's what we don't want to do. So I will recommend leaving it on the inside out, and don't do this unless you're comfortable with doing it. So right here, I'm just going in with some more Got To Be glue spray just to 100% be sure that all the hairs, all the flyaways, all the strays are just out of the bleach's way, because like I said, I put some of the bleach in front of the hairline. So I'm just being very careful and tedious about it. You can see I got a little bit of bleach in the hairline already. So like, just be careful. Don't be like me. Don't be doing too much. Leave it on the other side and just let it process. So we're about an hour in because these knots were a bit stubborn, but I'm starting to see that orangey, brownish, blonde tone that I'm looking for. And since it's been an hour, I'm just gonna go ahead and rinse it and tone it because I don't wanna overprocess the knots, which can cause premeditated shedding. After rinsing out all the bleach, I'm showing you guys how the knots look after the process. They have a brassy tone, so we're going to use the Shimmer Light shampoo to tone that down. When I apply the Shimmer Light shampoo, I focus on the front of the hairline of the wig, and then I'm going to also put some on the inside of the wig as well to make sure the knots are fully covered so they can have an even tone. This is how your knots should look once you apply the toner. Fully drenched, fully covered, fully purple. I let that sit for about a few minutes, like maybe 3 to 5 minutes, and then I rinse it. So that's sitting. Here's another closure piece that I was working on. This is how it should look after it's been toned. If you put a white towel to it and it's not giving scalp, then baby, you need to go tone it again because it didn't tone enough. For the plucking portion of this video, you're going to need your rat tail comb, a slanted tweezer, a T-pin, a canvas with a white towel, and then your wig. So I'm going to adjust the wig unit on the canvas to make sure it's lined up its center, and you're going to use your T-pins to secure the wig unit so that when you're plucking, it isn't moving and sliding off the canvas. The purpose of the white towel is also to make sure that you're basically fact checking. I don't know if I should use fact checking, but double checking to make sure you're plucking really good. The white towel is not necessary, but if you're a beginner, you're gonna see like why I use the white towel. Before we actually begin plucking, I'm going to take some mousse, and you can use any mousse of your choice. I'm going to mold the hair back so that all the hairs are laying in the same direction before we begin plucking. Just look at how the mousse just makes all the difference. The hair was like slanted before, and now when you use the mousse to mold it back, all the hairs are laying straight back. That is what you want before you begin plucking. So if I'm being quite honest, this wig unit isn't too bad, but we're still gonna go in and pluck it to make it look a little bit more realistic. So I'm gonna start by parting out the very edge of the hairline just to make sure that I'm not making the hairline recede on the wig. We're gonna start plucking behind this line. As I prep the wig to be plucked, let's take a step back and understand why we pluck wig units. Sometimes some wig units have bulky hairlines, and you want to remove that bulk so it can give you a seamless, realistic hairline look. So when I start, I take the tweezers and I start at the beginning, and I use like a pluck and pull motion. I'm going to be doing that across the very front, top, midsection. I'm going to go in small strokes. I'm going to go across that part and focus on that part until I get to the desired look that I'm going for. If you are a beginner watching this video, I want you to really take your time as you're doing it so that you can focus on not over plucking. So when I speed up, I'm pretty much doing the same strokes, just in faster strokes. It may feel like you're not doing nothing when you're plucking, but once you comb all those hairs that's starting to stick up out, you're going to see how much you really plucked out the wig. For the sake of time, I'm going to move to another section to give you guys a better view, because sometimes the midsection takes the longest to pluck. So I just did the same thing. I parted out a piece of the hairline at the front, and I'm going to start behind that and use the pluck and pull motions as I did before. I'm going to only focus on the side since I already worked on the midsection. Be sure not to cross the section that you previously plucked unless you feel like it's not blending the section that you're currently on, and then you can go back. And that's pretty much all plucking a wig unit is. It's something that you really just gotta eye and try to feel for. Work in sections at a time, and then like go back and forth into the sections to make sure that everything blends effortlessly, I mean. And sometimes you may not be able to do it all on the canvas. Sometimes you might have to finish it on a client, because sometimes you might feel like, okay, I plucked it good, but then by the time it gets on my client's head, it feels like, okay, I need to pluck over here more, or where they parted at might need a little bit more customizing. So don't try to focus on getting it super perfect on the canvas, because you can still work on it some more once it gets on your client and make sure it's to their liking as well. So as I'm plucking right here, notice that I'm kind of moving my tweezers a little bit back instead of starting at the very top of my section, just to continue moving out some bulk to give it a nice even blend. And for my hand motions, I'm using my right hand to pluck while my left hand is holding the hairs down in the back, just so that everything can stay in place as I pluck. Notice how I'm moving back to my midsection just a tad bit to blend that side section in with it. Again, to continue giving it an even blend. That is your goal when plucking. Like, your whole hairline should kind of mimic the same look. So here, notice that when I'm combing the hairline back, it's filling in those spots that I plucked. So when you when you comb it back, sometimes you might have to go back in and pluck it a little bit more, just to make sure it blends effortlessly. I don't know why I keep saying easily, effortlessly. Just like I mentioned like a few seconds ago, sometimes you might pluck a section, and then when you move over to another section, you notice that it's not blending, so you might have to go back. As the video comes to an end, I'm going to show you guys how much I plucked out of this unit, and I'm also going to show you what it looked like once I installed it on my client. And let me know how you guys like this video. Like, comment, share, and subscribe. Let me know if you guys want me to make another video showing you something different that I wasn't able to show you today. And just remember to practice, take your time, and ask questions, like, because closed mouths don't get fed. And if you don't know it, I'm the person who might know it. So, okay, now I'm rapping. But yeah, I hope you guys like the video. is a tedious task. So you really want to just take your time, focus on one section, and move accordingly to blend the next section with the previous section you just did. I also learned that focusing on one section helps me pluck the hairs much faster. But again, like I said earlier, you just want to make sure that you're still moving back and forth and not staying and plucking in one section for too long. You can always go back and pluck more if you need to, but again, it's hard to, if you pluck too much at once, try to go back, is really no way to really make up for it. So just take your time, go at your own pace, move at one section at a time, and I promise you'll have a very seamless pluck unit. So once you feel like you've plucked the hairline good enough, it's going to be time to comb that hairline that we parted out earlier back into the hairline that you just plucked. Notice that combing it back fills in those gaps that you just plucked. So we're going to go in and pluck again. So this time you have to be mindful not to pluck too much further back into what you just plucked, because then you're going to really create gaps in the wig. We just want to pluck just a little bit to make the hairline less precise and more natural looking. So now that the wig is completely plucked, I'm just going back in to remove any extra bulk that I see, just to make sure that I didn't miss anything. And as this video comes to an end, there's just two things that I want you to keep in mind. Be patient with yourself. New skills take time to develop, and the more you practice, the better you'll get. And also never hesitate to ask for help, which is why I have decided to offer free mentoring opportunities with the purchase of this course. If you have any questions, you can feel free to reach me through my website at any given time. Here's a video of how much hair has been plucked throughout this process, and this is how the hair came out after being plucked. The hairline looks very natural, it's not too bulky, and it's not too wiggy. I'm also going to include a video of how the wig looked once it was installed on my client. Again, thank you for purchasing my wig customization course. I hope you've learned some things that you can take away from this video. Feel free to head to www.humblytouch.co to check out my other online courses that are available.